Welcome to True Wellness with Dr. D, the podcast where we explore what it takes to live with vitality, balance, and purpose. I am Dr. D, and each week I'll bring you powerful tools, inspiring stories, and expert insights to help you thrive in every area of your life. From health and wellness to mindset and navigating life's challenges, this podcast is your guide to creating a life of true well-being. Be sure to check the show notes and grab your free copy of the True Wellness Checklist so you can get started on your journey to true wellness right away. Now, let's get started. Okay, to-do list. I say those words and I think everybody cringes, right? I know in my mind, it's like I see this ever expanding list that never ever goes away. Today, we're talking about productivity, but not the kind that burns you out, makes you feel like you're always falling behind, never catching up, or the one that convinces you that, there's always more and more and more. We're talking today about compassionate productivity, the kind that will actually support your nervous system, honor what your capacity really is, and really help you reclaim your time, your energy, your sanity, essentially. And so I'm excited to be joined here today by Lisa Zawrotny, who is leading women in that revolution. She is a productivity and life coach. She's the creator of the Positively Productive Systems and host of the Positively Living podcast. So what I love about Lisa is she's not just teaching you to hustle to be productive. She's teaching you about alignment. She's not glorifying the grind that we've all been told, like keep working, work harder, work harder. She's actually, pulling back the curtain and exposing it. And she really shows overwhelmed, high achieving women, all of you listening, I know, how you can actually stop drowning in your to-do list and actually start like building systems that feel more like support and not punishment. So Lisa, we're excited to have you join us today. And, I know your work is such a blend of psychology and habit science and time management and, ADHD informed coaching and really like a signature compassion first approach. And that, that is the heart of what we teach here at True Wellness. So I'm excited for today's talk.
Oh, as am I. Dr. D, thank you so much for having me, because when I listen to your True Wellness and I hear what you're talking about and how everything is connected, and I'm like, yes. And if we apply that to this concept that we always think is this disparate idea, right, of productivity, if we start applying that and we connect these same principles, you're going to see so much of what you talk about here applies to productivity. When we connect those two, it's exactly those things that you said, where it's productivity without the punishment, and especially to ourselves, because we do it to ourselves the most, don't we?
We do. I'll tell you, I'm going to tell one on myself here. My favorite line is always, well, it's better for me to be busy than bored, and that's like drilled in. It's like it falls out of my mouth before I can even think about it, like a lot of the time. And that's just like, oh, and I know like you are a productive, successful woman, and you even have your own joy list, as you call it. You'll have to talk about that. So you're able to be successful. You're able to be impactful, and you're still able to go on road trips with your family or binge watch shows or I want to hear about the making music with your family part, but you're still doing those things that bring balance to your nervous system. So I can't wait for you to share with us. I mean, how did this come about for you? What is your story?
So what I'm calling the origin story, if you will, is having lived my own version of deep survival mode of burnout. And that was taking time, which of course I will never regret. It was a beautiful thing to care for my mom during the last years of her life, and she had Alzheimer's. I did this while pregnant twice. So I have two kiddos, and at one point, I'm caring for a mom with Alzheimer's. I have an infant and a toddler. And if that isn't a way to humble you and
Mhm.
to tell you what's really important and to show you the things that can just be jettisoned out of your life because you thought they mattered and you're like, yeah, they don't now.
Yeah.
It was such a perspective shift for me. It also it it took a lot out of me. I want to be very careful about how I describe this. I can look back on it and think about it and tell you I don't regret it, but it was a very dark time. It was very difficult. And so anyone dealing in caregiver mode, my heart goes out to you, and to honor that and to be gentle with yourself is paramount. And I pushed myself much further than I think I was able to. And we talk about that all the time with such a great it's almost like we celebrate that well, you're strong when you have to be, and look at how much we gave.
Yes.
And even though I did it, I'm on the other side saying, I survived it, but I barely did. Let me help you with the lessons that I've learned. What
Yes.
I understood really mattered about clearing a path and about reducing what we need to do, and about maybe now that I had the time again and the energy again, once I healed, which took a while, I'm still healing, to be honest. Maybe we
All are.
don't, right? Maybe we don't put everything back. Have we ever thought about that? Maybe there's a different way. And that's what I want to encourage.
I love that. I love that. It's kind of this breakaway from, well, just keep pushing or just try harder
Yes.
mentality that I think is just ingrained in us,
It's taught. It's systemic. It is. There is a gender specific aspect to it as well. The mother who gives all and leaves nothing is glorified. I want to change the narrative. How about the mother who models for children to say, "Hey, I matter too, and this is how I care for myself, and I still care beautifully for you."
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think what you do with and I'll have you talk a little more in a second. If you can define for us a little bit more about compassionate productivity, because I think it kind of flips the traditional model on its head, right?
Yeah.
So talk to us about it. How is it fundamentally different from this get more done culture that we're conditioned into?
Okay, so in traditional productivity, which of course the concept came from the Industrial Revolution, right? So you have conceptually this, we have this amount of time, we have this business, we have these things that we want to create, and we want to make sure that we do things in such an efficient manner that the workers that we have can create more things in less time. And there's nothing wrong inherently with that efficiency, but it was never enough. It kept going. Companies, especially corporate America, kept seeking that out more and more. And then I believe, and this is, of course, my own take on it, that we tried to apply it to ourselves.
Yeah.
And we're not machines, we're human. And
Yes.
so it was this continuation of do more, achieve more. That's where the value is. And we are missing components of our humanity,
Yes.
which include our personality, uh, our strengths, our core values, the things that really matter to us, that when you dive deep down, inform what we see as success.
Yes.
Everything has been external, saying you need to do this. This is what you need to do to achieve. This is what equals success. And
Right.
it's like, oh, wait, but what if success isn't that being busy thing? Maybe boredom is success because it allows you to daydream and create in your creative mind. Maybe it means you're allowed to rest, and that's your favorite thing because then you cuddle up with people that you love,
Yes.
and you do something else entirely. It's it really is reframing what success means for us and how we want to achieve the things we actually do want.
Yeah.
The compassion, it's this idea of Okay, first of all, real productivity is not about just do more, focus more, achieve more. It's about doing the right thing at the right time, the right way for you.
Yes.
Okay, so then you're properly engaged. One of the things people miss the most about the idea of productivity is that you are most productive when you are fully present.
Mm.
And the best way to be fully present is to be fully you, authentically, to be engaged, to want to do the thing. And and I don't mean we don't have to, do some things that we don't want to do in life,
That
but
happens.
but there's usually a driver behind that where your values say, okay, I really don't want to do these things for my kids, but I value my family and serving them as a mom and going ahead and doing the things. I value not being in jail, so therefore I do my taxes. You know what I mean? Like
Right,
we
right,
find a reasoning
right.
behind things, but it's so important to know our drivers and also to remember that whole idea that productivity and achieving more and success is you can't hate yourself into a version you love, right?
Mhm. Yeah,
So why would you drive yourself into the ground in order to potentially achieve what it is that you want?
yeah. It's so funny, and I don't know, Lisa, but to me, it feels like we're moving more and more and more in that direction, especially with AI, and we're now producing things at a speed that we've never produced things before, and so everyone's looking to just do all of that more and more and more, and then you lose a lot of that reflection is what
Hmm.
I call it, because to be present is to be reflective, to be able to dream and start to develop what it is that you want in your life to be happy and successful. Like, that reflection piece is so important, and we're just like, go 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 go, next thing, next thing, next thing. Look at this is great. It used to take me 3 days to produce that one thing, and now it just took me 10 minutes. So now I'm producing 300 things. And on the flip side of that, now we're consuming that much more stuff, so we're also not present because we're in this consumer mode. I mean, just look at social media and the scrolls and whatever else.
Oh, absolutely. And all of it. I talk a lot about clutter in the work I do. And part of it was because I did declutter my way through healing and I was a professional organizer and went into people's homes to help them physically. But I learned early on that there's such a connection to the physical clutter and the mental and the emotional and the energetic clutter that we have in our lives. It's whole life clutter. And that the more that we're able to tap into that internally, that's actually what shifted me into productivity coaching and life coaching. Was like, if we get there sooner on the inside, it's all inside work. And I know you know that because that's exactly what you're working with. When we get there, everything else tends to sort itself out. But
Mm,
those decisions, you're right, you do need the pause. You do need to step back and reflect. And when we're in that go mode, and it's almost like that fast running water where you jump into the rapids and you're going so fast, you don't have a moment to step back and be like, is this even the direction I wanted to go in?
right, right. Yeah. It's interesting times that we're living in. It'll be interesting to watch how things play out in our lives. But I think, we're being pulled, like, it's tension, that tension for that over productivity in one direction. I think eventually it bounces back. I mean, we see it with people's health all the time. They push, they push, they push, they completely burn out and they can't get out of bed. And then they're just useless all the way around, which wasn't their intention, right?
Yeah.
But as you keep pushing, 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 you leave your body no other way than to be like, hey, I just can't go anymore. So this is it. This is our stopping point.
Yeah, if you don't make the intentional decision, which is what my entire like soapbox is about. So thank you for giving me a platform for this. This is a conversation we need to have, and I'm hoping to help prevent that. But that's exactly it, is that we're on a path every time we choose the hustle and grind, every time we choose the forcing instead of finessing, we're on a path toward that burnout. And if we don't make the choice, our body will make it for us because we have our
Absolutely.
limits.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Talk to me a little bit about, I know you love to talk about how the to-do list is sabotaging you.
Yes.
So, what's wrong with the way most people create and manage their to-do lists?
So first of all, I want to say to-do lists, making lists, that sort of thing, that's great. Okay, so 2 thumbs up. I don't want to discourage you from doing that. But what I want to do is elevate your understanding of it so that it can serve you better. It's another tool in your toolbox to get things done. But just as we spoke about this whole idea with productivity and just going and doing more and piling it all on doesn't work, the same thing tends to happen with the to-do list. And so the big problem is that most people are working off the wrong list and they don't realize it.
Okay.
So if you want, I would be happy to just launch right into that and explain
Yes.
what's actually
What's
happening.
the wrong list?
Okay, what's the wrong list? What's happening here? So
Let me go throw mine away.
imagine, if you will, okay, you're like, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that. You're thinking about things. Sometimes you may even do something that I call a mind sweep. Some people will call it a brain dump, right? You sit down and you think, what do I have to do? And you're making that list. And by the way, it doesn't matter if it's on the notes app on your phone or if it's on pen with paper, or I have a rocket book because I like the writing, but I also love, like, saving trees and then just being able to erase it and having the digital file. All of that's good. But what you're doing is you're taking ideas and you're putting them in a safe space. That part is awesome.
Yep.
Please, please keep doing that and do it regularly. You may want to do it more than you actually do it now, at least weekly. But sometimes if you're feeling like, ooh, I got a lot going on, I'm worried, I'm thinking about too much, take the time to do that mind sweep. That's something that I do with all my clients. I have a free resource about that. Like, that's a good thing.
Yes.
Here's where it gets tricky. Once you do that, you take everything out of your brain and you put it down on paper. You've probably done that and went, oh, that feels better, right?
Absolutely.
Until you look at the list. And then
Okay.
you're like, oh. And here's why, because that list that we just made, because you took all someone said something and you had the ideas and the thoughts and you don't want to forget this and all of that, and you took it all out of your brain and you like mentally decluttered, and that was great. That right there is not your to-do list. It's your to choose list.
Yes, I love that. Yes.
It's a pool of information of all the things that you've thought of, all the things that, think about where stuff comes from. It was worry, it was obligation. Someone else said you had to do something. You think you have to do something. You definitely know you have to do it. All of these things. It's stuff that has been languishing on your to-do list. The one with the Harry Potter extension charm that's been going on and on and on, where you just keep adding things. I know. All of that together, that's not a to-do list. That's like a pool of information that you want to have in a safe space, and that's good. But you need to choose from that and process it. That's where we get tripped up, because just like in a closet where you're looking for an outfit to wear and you have all these clothes, I'm not calling anybody out here, but we all know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
If you declutter it and you have fewer things to choose from and you know where everything is, then it makes it so much easier to select. It's the same thing that you want to have happen with your to-do list. So once you do that brain dump, which you'll have to continue to do, right? More things will be coming at you. So you keep collecting in that pool and then you process it. And you process it with, I have a framework that I'd be happy to share called the four
Yes.
Ds.
Let's walk through the framework, please.
Yes, absolutely.
How we go from chaos to clarity, right?
This is exactly right. And so you may have heard like some D's referenced before, 3 Ds, and you'll hear things like, oh, you have to, delete it or do it, sometimes delegate. So this might be familiar, but I have 4 of them and they have a very specific order for a specific reason, which you'll come to understand as we go through them.
Okay.
So the first of the 4 Ds is delete. And that's because in any kind of decluttering and organizing, you don't want to organize what you didn't intend to keep in the first place, right? So you always declutter first.
Yes.
Same thing with the to-do list. Okay, so same thing with the stuff that you brought out from the old to-do list that you had, from something someone said, from the random post-it notes on your desk, from your brain, wherever. There's going to be stuff there that, if you're being fair about, needs to go. Don't list or have on your to-do list what you don't intend to do. So think about what doesn't belong, what's been languishing for a while, what's outdated? Because sometimes that will happen where you're like, well, that deadline's long gone. So why is that there? It's an opportunity to really clear out the cobwebs and to be clear about where you're going and what you really want to do. So it's always a chance to delete first. And this can also include things that came from someone else, because how many times has someone else put something on your to-do list and you're like, did I even say that was okay? Like, what did I miss here? How did this end
Right.
up on my list? Like, okay. So, and then this may be kind of adjacent. The second D is to delegate. So the first one, we don't list what we don't intend to do. We want to clear out what already doesn't belong, because that can happen. The
Yes.
second is ask this question. I have this here. How can it get done? You notice I didn't say, how can I do it?
Yes.
I said, how can it get done? And that's going to make your mind say, ooh, all right, there's got to be different ways. And I don't have to be the one to do it. So you can delegate. Maybe someone who tried to put it on your list, you give it back to them. You're like, yeah, I'm not taking that. That's not my thing. Or, it could be paid. You can pay someone and delegate it to them, but also free, an exchange or a barter.
Right.
It can be people for sure that can help you, but technology is a great way to, automation can definitely delegate things.
Yes.
You and I both work in terms of podcasting, and when I have a guest on my show, there's a lot of calendar updating that goes that
Yes.
I love, because it's a great way to serve and remind them and give them the information they need, but I'm not doing it. The
Right.
automated system is.
Yes. Yes. The reminders.
Yeah. So any way that you can say, okay, how can it get done, but it doesn't have to be me? And I think that's just such an important reminder for those who find a lot of identity in being the person to get the things done.
Mhm. Yeah, there's like a value in
Yeah,
that, right?
yeah,
So that also becomes a whole identity shift in like, okay, well, why is it that I've got to derive my value from being the person, right?
right. Yeah. So, yeah, there's some bigger questions. There's some mindset in there, but this is your opportunity to start exploring that. And if you think about different ways that it doesn't have to be you, it can be extraordinarily freeing.
Yes.
Now, the third D is to delay. So, this is a not necessarily someday, okay, but a not right now. And it's important to designate not just what you have to do, but when. Because a lot of times we have this stuff like this has to be done, and we just think it has to be done immediately because it's on the to-do list, or we feel a sense of urgency. And my favorite question ever is to ask the question, whose urgent is it? Like where did
Uh-huh.
this come from? Like, what's going on here? So not everything has to be done immediately. And when you're not removing or delegating it, you can defer it until you have the capacity. It's a wonderful way to increase your capacity without necessarily giving up something. This is especially nice when you have someone who's I myself am this multi-passionate. You have all these ideas and exciting projects you want to do, and you don't want to give up on it, but you're like, yeah, this is not something I can deal with right now,
Yes.
right? But
I have
here's
this conversation with myself
a
often. It's like, oh, there's this. We had a staff meeting before our meeting today, and we're like looking at this new project, and I'm like, Danielle, really? You're going to take on another project right now? Or do we literally, I had the question like, do we need to delay this?
I love that you asked that question. And here's the distinction. If you have like this project or idea, and this is kind of separate and distinct from how many times are you saying yes, and every time you say yes, you're also saying no. So be sure
Yes.
what both mean, right? There's a lot of that. But even the okay, I'm not getting rid of it. I'm not having someone else do it. I need to do it, but it's not right now. Well, it's kind of understanding, okay, I'm still giving myself an option, but when is reasonable? How do I expand, my timeline and give myself some space to maybe I enjoy the new idea, but I don't have to address it right at this moment. So I had fun coming up with the idea, But if I leave it on the to-do list,
Mm.
what happens? I keep seeing it. I keep getting distracted. I'm not focusing on the other things. And there's other elements that happen. Not only are you constantly making decisions you don't even realize and causing yourself decision fatigue, it's a little like a cell phone where you have these apps open and they're running processes and you don't even realize it's happening and the battery's draining.
Hmm.
You're doing that to yourself when you have all these things listed on a to-do list. You're constantly distracted by them. Your brain is going, oh, when am I going to do that? Sometimes it's exciting. Sometimes it's guilt provoking.
Yes.
I'm big about shame-free productivity. That's the tagline for my podcast is shame-free productivity
Love it.
conversations, because we need to get rid of that and say, it's okay. Of course you can't do that right now. Last time I checked, you're human.
Hmm.
So if you leave it on the list, it's a distraction, it's a potential trigger for guilt and shame. If you delay it intentionally, how much better does that feel? Because it's not right there in your face, but on the calendar, 2 weeks, 2 months from now, whatever, you check back in.
Yes.
And then you decide. And then at that point, maybe you make a decision. Do I kick it down the road? Do I maybe go back and delete? I did find a way to delegate it. Like you see how this process can keep repeating and like sort of you can finesse it and like fine tune it even more as you go.
Hmm. Hmm.
Great. And so with that, so we've got delete, delegate, and delay. And then the last one is the one we think about all the time when it comes to productivity, and that is do. This is where the rubber meets the road. It's time to take action. But think about that list now versus when you started.
Hmm.
What does that that list feel like now when you've done all those other things to clear it out? What you have left feels so much doable, right?
Yes. Yeah. Because you've whittled away your list to identify, well, what is out there that's actually the most important
Right.
that I
Yeah.
do. Yeah.
Right, the important and urgent. So now it's time to apply what we think of as like classic productivity techniques. Now we do like subcategories of prioritization. We get our Eisenhower matrix out and we're like, okay, there's got to be something in here that's actually really urgent. Now, what's important? Then we use the Pomodoro technique if we want to sprint, or you start to apply the things to make it efficient to take action. Maybe you do like the 2-minute approach, and you whittle away at a bunch of small things to give yourself momentum, or you hit a bigger project to whew, just breathe easier and it feels better. It depends on how you work best and
Right.
what motivates you. So there's some fine tuning there, but you can ask yourself these questions and actually take action on this smaller subset. And it feels so much more doable, so much more encouraging. And that's your real to-do list right there.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, it brings a whole nother level of self-love and self-respect,
Yeah.
right? Rather than keeping all that stuff there, beating yourself up, the mind going into all these different spirals. I mean,
Yeah.
talk to me a little bit about, so where does that compassion come in?
Oh goodness. So when you're talking about like, the mind spirals, so we have this tendency where we like closed task loops, right? Our mind wants to close a task loop. So if I say, hey, what do you have on your to-do list, or what do you have to do, or what do you still need to get done, or whatever, you could rattle off that list, right? Very quickly. But if I say to you, what did you accomplish last week?
Yes.
Do you need a minute? Do you maybe even need to check your lists or your calendar, like to double check what happened?
Hmm.
Right? That's because once the loop closed, your mind was like, yeah, we don't need to worry about that anymore.
Yes.
Which is why celebration and being cognizant of all that you're doing is so important. That's more of a gratitude and celebrity side. But to answer your question about compassion, when we're compassionate, when we're like, are you okay? Do you have what you need to achieve these tasks?
Hmm.
we're promoting resilience and we're encouraging curiosity. And which, I say curiosity and that sounds cute and all, but when you apply it to something like being an entrepreneur, that means innovation. It means
Right.
troubleshooting. It
Right.
means instead of being in this like go mode, adrenaline pumping, fight or flight state where your prefrontal cortex is like, yeah, I don't have the big picture here. We are just trying to fight bears.
Fire.
Right? Okay. And I'm not going to make any good decisions. I'm in impulse mode and we're in go mode. If you need me, who's ready to fight? Like
Yes.
that's funny and all. And sometimes you need that. But in most cases, when we're sitting at our desk and we're trying to create things or we're trying to make something happen for the family or doing project management, we want that rest and digest mode where we're making good decisions and we're
I can think.
right. Make good decisions, make good choices. We want to be able to slow things down. Something you mentioned a couple of times, and so what I so appreciate about what you do, and I wish it's part of what I talk about on my podcast, and I think we need to understand the connection more, is taking care of our nervous system
Oh,
and
yes.
how incredibly important that is for
Yes.
us to be able to focus properly.
Yes, absolutely. And when we're not doing that, not only do we not focus properly, but then we're not as productive as we could be. We're not as efficient as we could be. We don't
Yep.
have that energy. It's like this. It's a real spiral
Yeah.
that that's so important.
Yeah.
Lisa, talk to me about um, productivity. It's not just about the different systems themselves. It's also really about self relationship.
Yes.
So what are sort of like the internal beliefs, the emotional patterns that you see that sabotage people the most?
So I love to say that our number one productivity tool is actually self-awareness,
Love it.
right? So it's understanding how it is that we work. I talked before about this idea that you have your strengths and your personality, your tendencies, if you will,
Yes.
your core values. Yeah, the joy list. This might be a nice time to kind of bring all that in. It's understanding all of these different elements of who we are,
Mm,
um, and and kind of like feeding into them. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, but I do want to tap into. I think it really does answer your question
yeah.
because that self management comes from self understanding,
Yes. Yeah.
right? You can't manage what you don't understand or you don't know.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
the right.
it goes back to a little bit what we talked about a little bit earlier in that when we don't take the time for that self-reflection,
Mhm.
we're just not present. We're like off in some other world, ignoring everything else,
Right.
including like our emotional patterns and our
Yeah.
internal state and our internal beliefs. Like you said before, some of those things that are on our to-do list, like where did they come from? Like who said you have to, I mean, I like to have the sink clean before I go to bed, but if I get a really long, hard day,
Yeah, the
and I
fly
look,
lady said that, by the way.
yeah, I look at the sink and I'm like, yeah, no, it'll be there
Mm.
tomorrow. And as much as I like a clean sink, sometimes like it's okay to be like, nope, tomorrow, you know?
Right, because now you're touching upon your needs and the idea that okay, so you're talking about things that I absolutely adore discussing. So part of productivity, we have self-management, which comes from understanding self.
Yes.
We also have energy management, which I think absolutely trumps time management. We talk about time management all the time, and I still do because it's a phrase people understand. But really, it's what are you doing with that time?
Uh-huh.
Right? So it's choice. And how are you managing to do that as a person?
Right.
And understanding your energy by taking care of your health, understanding your energy by what drives you and what excites you.
Yes.
I think what you're kind of describing, we have to be so careful about this idea in productivity where we're hesitant to do something or we don't get something done, and you might see a clue in your to-do list where you're like, that I've left that there for a long time. Why? What is blocking me? That
Yes.
the mindset can come from believing something is, far too difficult or that you can't do it. It can come from the fact that that wasn't your idea in the first place, and it doesn't align with your values. We don't realize sometimes that things like cognitive dissonance, where we are clashing with values, can actually mess us up.
Mhm.
The best systems in the world that, and a lot of times, come externally. You have people everywhere who talk about productivity. I'm one of a bajillion.
Yes.
But that's why I'm talking about it differently. Well, they will say, here's a system, here's a planner, here's a
Right.
checklist, here's a way to do something. If that doesn't align with you as a person, if it doesn't work with your values, if it doesn't work with the way that your brain works, ADHD much, right? This is my life. I live in a sea of it.
Right.
If none of that aligns and you're trying to force yourself into that, it could be the most brilliant system in the world. It will fail for you. And I didn't say you will fail. I said it will fail for you.
Yes. Yeah, good really, really good distinction there. Really good distinction. But what you're saying is really important, because those foundational beliefs that like, okay, why is that thing still on my list? I'm afraid of it, right? Or I'm afraid of
Mhm.
what the outcome is, or maybe it's just not that important,
Yeah.
or I'll take it to food. For example, I had a conversation with a client last week, and we are working on her diet. She's got some systemic inflammation, and it's impacting her life. So if she goes on vacation with her family, she ends up in pain. She can only do so much. And we've already identified, for example, that gluten is a major trigger for her inflammation. And so we had a conversation. She's like, "Well, I had a little bit here and a little bit here and a little bit here, and I'm kind of upset that I was in pain over my vacation." And I said, "Well, let's take a look at that, right? What was the block?" And she messaged me later. She's like, "I know what it is. I don't really believe food can have that impact on your body." Right? So of course, if you don't believe that food can have that impact, then you're not going to do that. I'll tell one on myself. I am not one of those people that makes my bed every day. I know that they're like, it's the biggest productivity thing. It's the way you set up your day. And I look at the bed and I'm like, I'm just going to get into the bed again. And I don't really want to spend, I mean, I cover things up so the cat doesn't go around, but to spend the 15 minutes for me is like, I don't want to do that. But my belief underneath that is, it's not really going to set up my day, right? I have other things that set up my day. So it informs what I
Mhm.
do, just like you're saying.
Exactly. And so, and then you can go further with that conversation. And in some instances, it's like, okay, I have a specific belief, but actually, the research is counterpointing that. And so I need to work on my mindset to kind of align with that for my for my betterment, right? Or I have to come to terms with and accept my fate, like one way or the other.
Right.
Or there might be an instance where it's like, well, I'm not buying it, so therefore trying to put it on my list of things to do is only going to be clutter on my list. So yeah,
Yes.
making
Yeah.
a distinction. Sometimes it might be something worth fighting for, so you have to figure out how to come around to that. And we can change and grow and adjust our beliefs, but then there's also inherent beliefs where it's like somebody somewhere said you have to make your bed every day,
Right.
and you're like, yeah, I'm not buying what you're selling, people. And I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't make my bed every day, but I
Yes.
do prioritize my bedtime. Let me tell you what, I
Yes.
do believe in that. And I
Me
do believe in those routines. So I do believe in circadian rhythm over the whole morning routine, evening routine. And I think it's a sliding scale. So
Yes.
yeah, it's definitely important to figure out where you stand and to work with that as much as possible.
Mhm.
And honestly, and this comes back around to compassionate productivity, that sometimes the best place to work is exactly where you are, right?
Yes. Yeah. And paying attention,
Paying
listening to
attention.
the cues and the signals. I know I always say there is like, even all the way back in college, which I am still 21, so it wasn't as many decades ago as it might seem.
No, it's fairly recent. Same for me. Yeah.
But even then, I would remember, like, there's a certain point, like you get to a certain point where you're up writing that paper at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and you're like, okay, I am no longer productive. Where I'm just like, you know what? this has to get closed and I'll get up earlier, because if I get up earlier, my brain will be refocused. I'll actually be more productive than if I sit here and try to like read the same line 5 times, thinking that I'm going to understand it by the time I, get to the 10th time.
Yep. Been there, done
Yeah.
that.
So
Ask me how I know.
yeah, it's that self-awareness that you spoke about.
And then the acceptance as well. So yeah, I think those two really go hand in hand. And I'll tell on myself, last night, finishing writing up a podcast episode and
Mhm.
thinking to myself, if I just finish these notes, I'll be able to record it, and getting to the point where I was like, no, you know what? It's been a day and
Yes.
I'm not in this space. But I also know if I get up in the morning, I'll do one quick like review when I'm fresh, and I will record it quickly. I've done this a lot. I'm used to it. No problem. And I did. And so, yeah, it's really understanding how a step back can help you take a step forward, how
Mhm.
rest is productive, how all of it, there's a lot of relearning when it comes to compassionate productivity. But the best part is you get to do so much that feels so good and almost like a cheat code, and yet you still get stuff done, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yes. Well, tell me this, Lisa. How do you, advise your clients when, what does compassionate productivity look like in real life when, say, it's like, it's Tuesday and nothing for the week yet has gone as planned?
Sometimes it's you have to go with that, the humor and the hope of, well, it seemed like a good idea at the time, or it's been a day, or, this is where the accountability comes in, where we laugh about it and we kind of take a step back. But there's a couple of things happening. One is the perspective of, hi, welcome to life.
Yes.
I have your membership card. We have a really cool t-shirt for you to wear. I'll show you the
Absolutely.
handshake. Like, because life is totally going to life you. And the more that we lean into that and the craziness, the better. But the other thing that I advise, and something specifically I work on them with,
Yeah.
is building in that flexibility for when that happens. It's not only the acceptance, but the anticipation of that things are going to happen, so that it's like, okay, so we've had, again, I'll say a day. What do we do with that? And
Yeah.
it's like taking a step back, regrouping, understanding that the prioritization may be, in fact, to rest and regroup, and then knowing what to do next. I was just actually the episode that I talked about that I just finished
Yes.
recording has to do with slowing down in multiple ways, like the actual pace in which you work, and then also slowing down by capacity. And I know it feels so weird, but I use something that I created called the generator principle. When you use a generator for your house when the power goes out, right?
Mhm.
So things just went sideways. What do you do now? Okay, hello. You use the generator principle where power goes out in your house. You don't use the generator to power the whole house. You
Yes.
go for the essentials. You,
Yes.
you pick the circuits that really matter for the things that really matter, and you power that and give yourself a chance to regroup, reset,
Mhm.
recharge, and
Mhm.
then get back to it and ramp back up into what you're doing. So being clear on what those essentials are, being clear on how do I super simplify what I was going to do? How do I pick a portion of what I was going to do? How do I let go of certain things and decide, oh, intentional delay time, one of the 4Ds, right?
Yes.
How do I adjust my capacity and kind of regroup? When you're practiced in that, which I do with my clients, it feels a lot easier to
Right.
kind of, you're not reacting, but you're regrouping when something like that happens.
Yes. And like you said, life is just going to keep, it's going to keep coming at us.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Flexibility is super important if we're going to be okay, right? If we're going to keep ourselves in this loving space. So for women who are listening, who are, they're tired, they're overwhelmed, they're blaming themselves, they feel like they can't get enough done or they're not doing things good enough. What do you most want them to understand about their productivity struggles?
We've all been there. And I'm with you, and so have I. And these are lessons that I've learned. And I know it feels strange, but I want you to know there is another side to it. There is a better way. And the first step is, I think, acknowledging that and letting that little glimmer of hope. You're listening to this and being like, yeah, I don't think so, but also could it be? Could it be? Let that let that grow. Take one conversation at a time, one step at a time. One thing that we talked about today where you're like, oh, I guess I could try that.
Right.
Maybe I could try the delegate thing where I just ask the question, how can it get done, and be creative with it? You know, and or the idea that the generator principle where you're like, okay, it is time. I do feel that overwhelmed that I need to say, all right, what are the essential circuits here? Let me
Yeah.
focus on those first.
Yeah.
Know that it's possible, and also that what you do is not equal to your worth. We talked about that before. I want to bring it back around again.
Yes.
So what you're worthy of is to know that you're amazing and that you deserve help and that you get to choose
Yeah.
what you're doing when. And yes, I know that there are some things like we have bosses and work and things like that that must be done. And I'm not really talking about that. I'm talking about all the rest
Yes.
that comes at us and really buries us in a surprising way. We can release so much of that. You can do this.
I love that. I love that. And even too, like the work that we have to get done, we can still also choose that, right?
Mhm.
We can choose to resist it and walk around, like, be annoyed with it, or we can just choose like, okay, this is for whatever that greater purpose is, kind of like we spoke about before.
Yeah, giving it meaning, and that does help. When I say I get to work this hard for this point, for my family, it feels different. You're right. That's a beautiful reframe.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot. With our clients in our practice, we talk about that a lot. The difference between like I have to or I should versus like I get to,
Yeah.
right? Or I choose to, because there's so much power in just that, just those little words, just that little tweak that puts you in a position of power versus a position of a victim.
And that will reduce that idea in productivity of friction, where it's harder to take the step to do the thing because you're resisting for whatever reason. We've talked about a few different ways that might
Yes,
happen. And
yes.
so when you change that reframe and you say, I get to, that's another way to reduce the friction and make it easier to take the step and do the thing and be more productive. So it's a win-win.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Lisa. I always ask all of our guests before we conclude, what is like 1 to 3 actionable items that they can take on, say, like tomorrow morning, that would change their entire day or their mindset or the way they're feeling about their to do list or their burnout?
So, I mean, we've talked about like the 4Ds, but let's start with that first thing of the guided mind sweep, right? Or I say the guided mind sweep because I guide people to do that. I do have that as a free resource where I'm in your ears, like telling you exactly how to do this, but you can do it on your own as well. 5 minutes of like taking things out of your brain and putting them down and understanding that's not a to-do list or anything. That's step one. That really will help because it opens you up to be able to make better decisions, to calm and to declutter the brain so that you're open and focused and ready to go. That's number one. Number two, I would say go right back to basics. Have you hydrated? Did you get a snack? Did you get a nap? Like, like, like really, your needs. One of my favorite quotes from ages ago that stayed with me forever, especially as a mom, was don't put their wants above your needs.
Mm,
And I live with that all the time. So think about your needs and honor them. And don't forget, because sometimes it's easy to pass those off. And
yeah.
the third and last thing that I would say is actually more of a quote to leave you with. And it's a reminder of your worthiness that I love that you're here. You're trying to think of doing things better and you're trying to improve yourself. Please do that. But Sophia Bush said you're allowed to be a masterpiece and a work in progress simultaneously. And you are both of those.
I love that. That's beautiful. Lisa, tell everyone a little bit more about where they can find you, how they can access your podcast. We'll have stuff in the show notes, but for those who are listening only, how can they do that? How can they access your Mind Sweep, the free resource that you have?
Thank you so much for asking. So the hub where you'll find everything and it'll point to all the stuff is positivelyproductive.com. And so there's a podcast page right there where you can click on actually blog posts if you prefer reading. A built-in listener, you can hop over to any podcast app that you want. I'm there. Everything from iHeartRadio to the standard, Apple Podcasts and Spotify and all the things. Positively living, shame-free productivity conversations. Also on positivelyproductive.com/resources. All the resources I mentioned. We didn't even get to the joy list, so that'll be a surprise for you, but it takes like 5 minutes. That's in the toolkit, but the guided mind sweep is also there. All those free resources you can find. So I've mentioned the podcast, I've mentioned the resources, and if you want to just have some fun with me, I'm positively_Lisa at Instagram. I love playing over there and posting silly videos because we have to laugh and love our lives, and I'm there to encourage you to do all of it.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for gifting us with your time, for sharing your knowledge and wisdom, and for making a difference in the world so we can try to get out of this spiral, right? And live with peace and joy and compassion.
Thank you so much. And thank you for inviting me and giving me a platform to share this. It's so important. And, together we spread hope. So thank you, Dr. D.
You're welcome. And with that, everyone, we look forward to having you join us for the next episode. This is Dr. D reminding you to tune into your body, connect with what matters, and embrace the journey to true wellness. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who's ready to redefine their health. Be sure to grab a copy of the True Wellness Checklist right in the show notes. Let's keep redefining wellness and empowering change together. See you for the next episode.